Hey there, how you doing today? Let's talk about storms a bit, shall we? You tuned in to talk about storms, didn't you? Storms are something we all face and understand. Some are violent and destructive, some are just a nuisance. You don't want to be in a storm. Nobody seeks out a storm unless you're doing the storm chaser thing and trying to study tornadoes or whatever. That was kind of a fun movie, actually. What was that? I forgot what it was even called. There's snowstorms, rain, thunder, wind, sand, almost every kind of thing you can think of. Hail, hurricanes, tornadoes, but they're never pleasant. You don't want to be in a storm. And that's why storms are often used to describe trials, tribulations, hardships that we faced in life. And storms have a place in the narrative of the Bible. Sometimes we're told they come from God, sometimes they bring judgment. Sometimes it's just like get back on track. You can read about Noah, Jonah to see some of those kind of storms. Sometimes they're attributed to the devil, that they come for destruction and they're not from God at all. You can think of Job's children as an example of that. I want to take a look at a storm in the Bible that a lot of people are probably familiar with because it includes one of the most remarkable things Jesus ever did. He walked on water. And in fact, he walked on water in a storm. I'm going to read from Matthew. Jesus has performed one of the great miracles, another one of the great miracles of his day, where he feeds thousands of people with a kid's lunch. Or maybe that might have been the other time, I'm not sure. But 5 loaves, 2 fish, feeds thousands of people. And then it says, Matthew 14:22, immediately he made the disciples get into the boat, go ahead of him to the other side while he sent the crowds away. After he'd sent the crowds away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray, and when it was evening, he was there alone. But the boat was already a long distance from the land, battered by the waves, for the wind was contrary. I like this translation, New American Standard. Other translations say it too, but because I like this word, the winds were contrary. And that describes myself and everyone who lives in my household. We all like to disagree just for the sake of disagreeing. Might not even actually care about the side we're arguing for, but we just like to have an argument. It reminds me of the Monty Python skit. I like to have an argument, please. No, you don't. Or whatever, however that goes. That's what the disciples are facing. It isn't a destructive storm, and it probably isn't even raining. It's probably just wind, just a windstorm. But it's against them. Not the same as the kind of storm they faced when Jesus was in the boat sleeping with them and they were afraid for their lives. Like, Jesus, wake up, we're going to die here. They're just laboring against the wind. Probably 3 to 4 foot waves. The boat's being battered, the Bible says, and it's pushing the opposite direction of where they want to go. And we all feel that sometimes. There's a goal we're trying to get to. Everything seems to be against it. It can be circumstances, people, resources. We just don't have enough to do what we want to do. Sometimes popular opinion is against us. Political agendas are against us. Workplace politics are against us. Sometimes friends and family are against us. There's this constant pressure or force that's resisting the direction in which we want to go. Tough slogging. That's where they are out in that boat. They'd probably gone about 3 or 4 miles in 7 to 10 hours. A lot of hard work for just very little progress. It's the kind of storm where someone might say, let's just head back. It's too hard. We're fighting the wind. We're going all night. I'm tired. It's dark. Let's just go with the wind and try again another day. And we all know that feeling. Life just kicks the snot out of you sometimes. And you look at another day and you say, I don't know if I have the willpower to keep on trying. Not that we're despairing of life or anything. It's not a destructive storm. They're not afraid for their lives. They're just like, we can't get where we want to go. And you feel that way sometimes. I just can't get where I want to go. Mark puts it this way. The Gospel of Mark 6:48. Seeing them straining at the oars, for the wind was against them. Let's talk about this word straining. That's a word in the Greek that was used, to my understanding, in maybe 4 different ways. Several different ways it was used to describe some kind of a struggle. And one way was in legal matters. the stress, the strain of some kind of a court case, cross-examination, scrutiny. That's one of the ways that this word was used to describe a strain. And for example, my brother was informed a while back here that he's being sued for an accident he was in 2 years ago that wasn't his fault. That's a strain. It's stressful. You got to lawyer up. You got to, answer questions. Got to deal with all that. You don't know what the outcome is. It's uncertainty. What if you do get sued? It doesn't feel fair. All of that. Those kind of things. All this, it's not my fault. What am I facing this for? That's a strain. That's a struggle. It was also used to describe a severe physical affliction. Like my sister has been having a very difficult time with her health recently. Been in frequent pain, lacks energy. Doctors haven't been able to find a solution, even though she's already had one operation. That's a strain. That's stress. That weighs you down. That makes it feel like you're not making any headway. You talk to people and nobody seems to be able to help you. That's a strain. I'm not making any progress here. A third way is when circumstances seem to be against you. It's the word used in 2 Peter 2:7, talking about Lot in Sodom and Gomorrah. And it says he was oppressed by the filthy conduct of the wicked. And others translations will say he was distressed, or he was sick of, or vexed by the shameful immorality of the people around him. And you felt that. The scorn of people who think you're a prude or you're a withering flower, or if anybody's innocent these days, it's like, what's with you? There used to be some kind of respect and restraint around religious people or women and children. But now you just double down. If you see somebody who seems to be uncomfortable, they're a mocking point. You double down. You want to make them feel uncomfortable. It's like, get with the program. This is the way the world is these days. They'd be happy if you just left. There's a member of my congregation who experienced that kind of thing in one of her jobs for different reasons. And the pressure was a different kind, but those people wanted her gone. And they did everything they could to pressure her to leave, without breaking, workplace rules or whatever. That's straining against a storm. That's the kind of thing that's a stress. And it feels like every day is just a slog. And a final way this word is used is just straight up spiritual battle. It's the realization of the latter half of Revelation 12:12, where it says, terror will come on the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you in great anger, knowing that he has little time left. He's named the adversary in scriptures, and that's what he is. He's against you. He's constantly pushing back on anything you do, especially if you're trying to further the kingdom of God on the earth. But he's against everyone. There isn't a single person he likes in this world, whether you believe in God or not. He hates you full on, even if you think he's awesome. Like, I don't know why you would be, but maybe you're listening to me and you think the devil's great. Satan, you're all like, ooh, he's so awesome, the devil and all that. He hates you. He hates you. And he wants to ruin you. Make no mistake about it. And even if that means that he would leave you alone to have a kind of a pleasant life, and then in the end he gets you, that's what he's going to do. He hates everybody. He's against every single person on this planet. He hates the human race. And he does everything he can to make life stressful and a strain wherever he can. So those things always come against us. Legal situations always come against us. But those are 4 things that can describe a strain or a stress in life. Legal situations, battles, whatever. Physical difficulty, the pressure of surrounding circumstances, or just straight up the pressure of spiritual battle. We all face these things in one degree or another all the time in life. And they make life a strain sometimes. You can't make any headway because the winds are against you. And so the question here that we can ask is, well, where's God in all of this? What's Jesus doing while they're straining at the oars in these contrary winds? And I think there's at least 3 things we can see here in this story that give us hope and encouragement when life is a strain and we're in a storm. And the first is to accept that God's got a purpose in this storm somehow. Because Jesus told them to get in the boat. In fact, the word says he compelled them. He made them get in the boat. And that sounds like they wanted to stay behind. It's like, Jesus, we want to stay here with you on the shore. Whatever you're doing, we'll pray for a while too. And he's like, no, get in the boat. Matthew 14:22 again says, Immediately after they had this miracle and everybody was like, Jesus is awesome, and they actually wanted to make him king at that point, he's like, guys, get in the boat. Get in the boat. Go ahead of me. I'll catch up with you. And that might have been I would have said, well, okay, how are you going to catch up? We go across on the boat. What are you going to do? Walk all the way around the sea here? Like, I don't know how big it was, which sea exactly they're talking about here. I could probably look it up, but I don't know off the top of my head. But it's not like this is a short walk to how are you going to catch up? But nevertheless, like, guys, get in the boat, get going. I'll catch up with you later. But the point more so is, have you ever tried to do something that you really believed God wanted you to do? In fact, maybe even felt like, I just feel compelled, like I need to do this. God really, really wants me to do this. And then it's nothing but a struggle. You're not making any progress. It seems like everything is against you. You start to get down, and you might question if God really told you to do that or not. And people around you will certainly help out with those kind of questions. Believe you me. If you know you're doing what God wants you to do, don't be discouraged by contrary winds, because he's in that somehow for some reason. It's not a picnic, but God is using that storm for some good purpose in your life. And we can see in this story that he didn't put them in the boat to sink them. Like, being God, he had to know that there was a storm coming, and yet he told them to get in the boat. But he knew that this storm wasn't going to destroy them. It wasn't for destruction. And then he came later and he brought peace and he settled everything down. And if we step back and we look at sort of what bookends this event, we see there's this miracle of feeding thousands of people from just a small lunch. Then there's this struggle for a night on the boat. And then when they arrive at their destination, there's all these healings and everything. Matthew 14 tells us when they came to the land of Gennesaret, and when the men of the place recognized him, they sent word around the surrounding district, brought him all who were sick. They implored him that they might just touch the fringe of his garment, and as many as touched it were cured. So, miracle, struggle, miracles. And maybe the point of the storm was it's not always manna from heaven. Maybe Jesus didn't want them seeing all these people fed and then all these healings without some adversity to give it some balance. Because sometimes life is a struggle, but that doesn't mean God's abandoned you. And it doesn't mean also that you didn't hear him. It doesn't mean you're on the wrong track. Like, we're going where he wants us to go, but it's a struggle. How come there was manna from heaven and then all these healings, but then there was a struggle? Did I miss something? No, God's in that somehow. And maybe he also wanted the disciples to understand it's not always easy street, because they might have thought, man, we're going to get a free lunch every day from now on. We don't have to worry about food anymore. Maybe God's saying, well, don't expect everything just to be handed to you. There's some work involved as well. I don't know exactly what the message was here. We can certainly draw some good lessons from it. But God had a purpose in the storm for them, and it wasn't for their destruction. And the second thing we can draw from this incident is that God has his eye on you. Matthew 14:23 tells us that Jesus went up on the hill, the mountain, to pray alone. He sent them out, and then he goes to pray. We're not told what he's praying about exactly. Probably he's communing with God and restoring his spirit, refreshing his energy. But I think he's also fulfilling his priestly duty and responsibility and joy to pray for his people, to intercede. One of the great things about the Bible and scriptures like Hebrews that encourage me is that we have a great high priest and that he intercedes for us. He's our advocate to the Father. He's on our side and he's talking on our behalf. That's really encouraging to me. Mark 6:48 I read earlier, and I focused on the word straining, but I want to focus on another word there, seeing them straining at the oars. I want to focus on that word seeing. Wherever he went to pray and whatever he was praying about, he could see them. And that's a powerful thing to remember, isn't it? Jesus sees you right now in the midst of your struggle. In fact, he's had his eye on you the whole time. He's been keeping watch and he's been interceding for you. I think that's how it was. He's not worried about them. He knows that they're not going to be destroyed. This isn't something that's come to destroy them. But he's keeping his eye on them nonetheless. And he's praying for them. Like he's communing with God and he's refreshing his spirit. But you know how this is. You pray and you talk to God, but you also lift up other people. And while he's communing with God, he's maybe saying, God, give him strength, give him courage, give him endurance as they're facing this test right now. Just lifting them up, keeping an eye on them. A third thing we can draw from this is that help is on the way. I read Mark 6:48 already, but I want to read the last part of the verse. So it says, seeing them straining at the oars, for the wind was against them, at about the 4th watch of the night, he came to them walking on the sea. And I don't know if it's overcast or if it's clear out there. I don't know if they know what time it is, but they've been rowing all night, maybe 7-10 hours. They've been rowing against these contrary winds, haven't made very much headway. And someone might be saying, when is this night going to end? Like, when's the sun going to rise? We've been out here, feels like forever. You been there? When is this strain going to stop? When is this stress going to stop? And we all know the saying that it's darkest just before the dawn. And I'm going to read the full account there from Matthew 14:25-32. Might be a familiar story for a lot of people. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them, walking on the water. When the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified. In fear, they cried out, "It's a ghost!" That would be something, wouldn't it? In the middle of the night, you're straining against these waves and everything, and all of a sudden there's this something walking on the water. Like, they never saw, you and I have never seen that. But he spoke out to them at once. "Don't be afraid. Take courage. I'm here." Then Peter called out to him, "Lord, is it really you? Tell me to come to you walking on the water." "Yes, come," Jesus said. So Peter went over the side of the boat, walked on the water towards Jesus. But when he saw the strong wind and the waves, he was terrified, and he began to sink. "Save me, Lord," he shouted. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. "You have so little faith. Why did you doubt me?" When they climbed back into the boat, wind stopped. Just like that, storm was over. But before that happened, they didn't know the Lord was on his way. He was walking toward them, I've got to assume, for a fair while before they saw him. He was moving before they realized it. And that's us too. God is moving. Sometimes we don't know it yet, but he's already moving, and he's moving for our benefit. There's that song Waymaker, right? You're always moving, you're always working. Even when I can't see it, I know you're moving. And we might cry out, "God, do something. God, help me." And God might reply, "I already am. I'm already on my way." And when we finally see him, changes everything. Don't be afraid. Take courage. I'm here. I like it that he says that, because it's a ghost. Hey, don't be afraid. There's an anime, popular anime, My Hero Academia, that I like and my daughter like watching. And there's a hero in there who's called All Might. And he saves everyone with a smile on his face. And he says, "It's okay now. I'm here." And that's Jesus. I just think that's such a great picture of Jesus. He saves everyone with a smile on his face because he ain't afraid of nothing and he ain't afraid of nobody. And he comes and he says to us, "It's okay now. I'm here. Don't be afraid." And we're like Peter, and we're like, "Really? Is it really you? Can I come to you?" And Jesus says, "Yes, come to me. If you're weary, if you're afraid, I'll give you peace." He's saying that right now. Like you might be saying, "Really? Is Jesus really here? Can I come to him?" This is the answer. Yes, you can. You can come to him right now. Jesus is here. Jesus will save you. Jesus will give you peace. He'll give you strength. He'll give you courage. And when we face storms and we falter, Jesus is there. Yes, you can. You can come to him. And sometimes then we say, "Okay, I'm coming." And we get out and we start walking towards him. And then we're like, the storm's still here. There's still these big waves. The wind's still blowing. Everything's still against me. And we get afraid and we falter and we start to sink. And then we cry out again, Jesus, save me. And he does. He reaches out his hand. If you just grab his hand right now, he's reaching it out to you, and he'll pull you out of the waves, and he'll save you. Jesus will help you if you call on his name. Jesus will answer if you call out to him, and he'll pull you up out of your struggle, your waters, your wind, your waves. Just reach out your hand, and Jesus will take you out. It's all right now. Jesus is here. He's here for you. And when they get back in the boat, peace. The winds stop. Peace comes. Peace comes when you get Jesus in your boat. Get Jesus in your boat with you, and he'll give you peace in the middle of a storm. In the translation I read, it says, Jesus says to Peter, you have so little faith. You might be familiar with other translations that say, oh, ye of little faith. But I like this one, you have so little faith, because I think it softens it a little bit. I don't think Jesus is trying to put Peter down there, but he's just sort of gently chastising him. You have so little faith. It's almost like a friend that's disappointed. You can trust me. I said I had your back. I said I had your back. You can trust me. You have so little faith. Why did you doubt me, Peter? You can trust me. You can trust me. And I think Jesus is saying that to a lot of us today. Just have a little more faith. Don't doubt me. You can trust me. I got you. You can trust me in this storm. God is in your storm. Your stress, your struggle, God is in it. There's some good purpose in your life. If you're following God and walking with Jesus, there's some good purpose in your life for it. And God sees you straining. He's got his eye on you. He knows. And he won't let it be more than you can handle. And God is already moving on your behalf. Even before you called out to him, he's already moving towards you. He's already working on your behalf. And he's going to come and he's going to bring you peace. Believe in that. Jesus is on your side. You can trust him, and he will not let you fall. God bless you. Have a great day.